In the 1960s, being rich didn't always mean diamonds or a country club. Sometimes it was as simple as cold air from the ceiling or having a second bathroom. If your family had even a few of these quiet luxuries, you were living better than most. Let's see how many of these signs meant you were rich and didn't even know it. Number 1. Central air, cold air, warm envy. In the 1960s, central air wasn't just comfort, it was a conversation starter. Most families relied on fans or loud window units to fight the summer heat. But if you walked into a home where cool air came silently through the vents, that meant success. Neighbors would watch the installation trucks and whisper, "How can they afford that? And the electric bill?" That wasn't for the faint of heart. Central air didn't just keep you cool. It told the world your family had stepped into a modern life others could only imagine. Number 2. A second bathroom. No waiting, no fighting. In most 1960s homes, one bathroom served everyone: parents, kids, guests. Mornings were a chaotic dance of knocking, shouting, and waiting your turn. But if your house had 2 bathrooms, that meant peace. It meant mom didn't have to rush. Dad could shave in silence. And the kids? They didn't have to line up. A second bathroom wasn't just a luxury. It was proof that your family had the space, the money, and the foresight to make life easier. It may seem normal today, but back then, it meant you were living ahead of your time. Number 3. 2 cars in the driveway. In the 1960s, most families made do with 1 car. Dad drove it to work, and if mom needed something, she waited or walked. But 2 cars in the driveway? That changed everything. Suddenly, mom had independence. The family could go in different directions. Errands became easier, life opened up, and if one of those cars was a Cadillac, forget it, people noticed. 2 cars meant stability, freedom, and upward movement. It wasn't just about transportation. It was a visible sign that your family was doing better than just getting by. You were going places, literally and figuratively. Number 4. Your own bedroom. Sharing a room was the norm in the 1960s, especially in big families. Siblings crammed into bunk beds, argued over space, and learned to compromise. But if you had your own bedroom, that meant something special. It was privacy, independence, and pride all rolled into one. You could decorate the walls, close the door, and dream in peace. For parents, giving a child their own space was a milestone, a reward for years of saving and sacrifice. It wasn't just a room, it was a quiet signal that your family had moved up in the world. Number 5. A color TV that made you popular. In the mid-60s, color TV wasn't just new, it was dazzling. Most families still watched their shows in black and white, adjusting rabbit ears for a better signal. But if your living room had a glowing color set, neighbors knew. Kids suddenly dropped by around Sunday night. Adults lingered longer after dinner. Watching the wonderful world of Disney in color felt like magic. And if your family had more than one TV, that was next level. In a time when TV shaped culture, owning color meant your home was where the fun and status lived. Number 6. A dishwasher that gave mom a break. Washing dishes by hand was part of daily life in the 1960s. After every meal, someone rolled up their sleeves and got to scrubbing. But if your kitchen had a dishwasher, that was a game changer, especially for mom. It freed up her time, modernized the space, and told visitors, "We've arrived." Dishwashers were expensive and still rare, so seeing one gleam beneath the counter made an impression. It wasn't just a machine, it was a badge of progress. And for a generation of hardworking parents, it meant one less chore and a quiet kind of pride. Number 7. Flying for vacation. In the 1960s, most vacations meant loading up the station wagon and driving for hours. But flying, that was rare, reserved for families with extra money and serious planning. Airline tickets were pricey, and flying was still a dressed-up affair. If your family boarded a plane to Disneyland or Florida, it wasn't just travel, it was prestige. The photos were proudly shown off, the ticket stubs kept as souvenirs. Flying meant more than distance. It meant you were part of a smaller, luckier crowd who could afford to skip the long road and soar. Number 8. A housekeeper came on Tuesdays. Back then, hiring someone to help around the house wasn't common. It was a clear sign your family had a little extra. She might come once a week, mop the floors, do some laundry, and dust the furniture until it shined. Kids were told to stay out of the way, and neighbors noticed her car in the driveway. For your mom, it meant a break from constant chores. For the family, it meant time could be spent elsewhere. A housekeeper didn't just clean, she quietly confirmed your family was doing better than most. Number 9. A flocked Christmas tree in the window. In the 1960s, Christmas wasn't complete without a tree, and if it was flocked with artificial snow, that meant your family had style and a few extra dollars. These trees weren't cheap, and having one meant a trip to a specialty shop or paying for the flocking service. Families proudly placed them in the front window, where neighbors could admire the snowy spectacle. It wasn't just decoration, it was seasonal status. In a time when holiday magic was homemade, a flocked tree stood out as something beautifully unnecessary, and that's what made it special. Number 10. TV guide on the coffee table. Most families checked the newspaper for TV listings, but if your home had a fresh copy of TV Guide each week, that said something. Glossy pages, celebrity interviews, upcoming shows. It wasn't just about knowing what was on, it was about being part of the pop culture conversation. The magazine cost extra, and keeping it neatly on the coffee table made it feel like a household essential. Flipping through together became a weekly ritual. In a world with just a few channels, owning TV Guide meant your family cared about entertainment and could afford the little extras. Number 11. A riding lawn mower. On any given Saturday, you'd hear the hum of push mowers across the neighborhood, but if your dad rode his mower like a tractor across the lawn, that turned heads. Riding mowers were expensive, bulky, and far from common. They made yard work look effortless and let everyone know your family could afford convenience. Sometimes kids begged for a turn, pretending they were driving a car. Others watched in awe from across the street. A well-kept lawn was pride. But a riding mower, that was prosperity you could hear coming down the block. Number 12. 2 living rooms and plastic on the couch. If your house had both a family room and a formal living room, that was serious square footage. One room was for everyday chaos, homework, TV, toys. The other, pristine, quiet, and often wrapped in crackling plastic. That furniture wasn't for sitting, it was for showing. Guests were guided in carefully, kids were told not to touch, and everything smelled like lemon pledge. Having 2 living rooms wasn't just about space, it was about presentation. It meant your family had enough to keep one part of the house spotless, just in case someone important dropped by. Number 13. An American Express card. In the 1960s, most people paid with cash or maybe a store account. But pulling out an American Express card, that meant you were trusted, established, and living ahead of your time. It wasn't just a way to pay, it was a symbol. At a nice restaurant or department store, people noticed. The card had weight, both literal and social. Not everyone could get one, and those who did often used it with quiet pride. In a world built on savings and sacrifice, an Amex card meant your family had truly arrived. Back then, wealth wasn't loud. It was quiet, practical, and deeply personal. A second bathroom, a dishwasher, or a color TV spoke volumes without saying a word. If any of these brought back memories, you were richer than you thought. Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear it.